us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
He's going in, holy shit!
On CABC3, the future of broadcasting. With your host, Darnell Duff.
That ball hit hard. Stretch. Austin Jackson back looks up. You can. Ready on the board. Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The First Row Sports Show on CABC3, the future of broadcasting. We got a full booth here with me today. We got Damon, Scotty, and Downtown Andrew Brown. How you guys doing today?
Not too bad.
Going well. Average.
All right, and let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets and Michael Frolik, one of the better players who played for the Winnipeg Jets this year, anyways, especially in their playoff run that ended in 4 games with the Anaheim Ducks. What does Winnipeg do with a guy like Michael Frolik? He's going to want more money than he got last year. How much do you give him?
I don't think he'll ask for much more than he has. I think he played a pretty good role on the Jets. He could fill in that position anywhere on a top 6, forward line if someone got injured or not. He played all down the wing side for the first line, second line, and third line. So I think Winnipeg should re-sign him. If obviously he doesn't ask for much more, but we'll see what happens.
Now, the Winnipeg Jets have a few players, although Drew Stafford said he wants to sign in Winnipeg. He's an unrestricted free agent. Yuri Tlusty as well. So, there's 3 Winnipeg Jets right now that they have the possibility of losing. That it's unlikely that they'll lose all of them. I don't think they'll look to sign Yuri Tlusty, but out of those 3 players, who do you look to keep most?
Frolik, for sure, I think. He's the most versatile player, and he had a tremendous season. Like Andrew said, he's a guy that comes in and he can fill a top 6 role and play a top 9 role if he has to in the bottom. He's a tremendous player, I think.
Andrew, any thoughts on that one?
I would personally keep Drew Stafford, just so, from seeing him play with Mark Scheifele, Scheifele's game definitely got a little bit better after the big trade there. He fit the role really well. He's banging bodies every game. Good energy guy, put the puck in the back of the net consistently. And he definitely got back on the right track on his career since coming to Winnipeg. And I'd like to see him return too, and especially with Ehlers coming up next year, I'd like to see Ehlers, Scheifele, and Stafford on the line together.
That'd be a nice line.
Now, soon-to-be 35-year-old defenseman Francois Beauchemin in Anaheim. One of the big reasons they have had success over the past years, they haven't gotten to the Stanley Cup final, but nonetheless, he's really big for them on the defensive end. What does Anaheim do about this guy? He's getting up there in age, maybe have 1 or 2 more years. Do you sign him to that short-term contract to try and make a run in the next couple of years, Andrew?
I think it really depends on, you got to look at which prospects the Anaheim Ducks have coming up from the AHL team on the back end. Francois Beauchemin's been an outstanding player for the Ducks. I remember when he played for the Leafs, and I couldn't wait for him to leave. And ever since he's gone back to the Ducks, he's been a great player. He's been a great shutdown player. It definitely wasn't his fault in any way that they lost this year in the playoffs. It was just a lack of point production from the top couple lines, and I hope he stays too. I think he's a great fit in Anaheim.
I think the biggest thing for them is the fact that they have so many younger players that are coming up in their system that are looking to take a top 6 role for them. And with Beauchemin being 35 and likely going to get a little bit of a higher cap hit than $3.5 million, I don't know if you can sign him, especially with Anaheim's cap crunch.
Now, we all know the Chicago Blackhawks won the 2015 Stanley Cup in 6 games. Someone who was very important to that team in winning was Antoine Vermette. Now, Chicago is pretty tight against the salary cap. He was just more or less a rental. I think he's just going to see what he can get out of the summer offseason. You got to think his production, or his money-wise, went up a little bit more after his Stanley Cup playoff.
It's tough to say. I don't know. He was awful with them at the end of the regular season. I don't think he played that well at all. No, he didn't play. I don't think he played well at all.
But he showed up when it was needed.
He did.
He had a couple of big goals, some big assists. Of course he had a choice.
He had big goals.
He showed up when he needed to.
That's what was expected. He's a big player. He was a big player on the Coyotes. That's what was expected from him. And he only produced in the playoffs. And I don't know what happened really with the regular season and him. I don't know if it was ice time was an issue.
Only the second, the 2 last playoff series too. He only started to produce in Anaheim and then also in the Tampa Bay series.
I would not. If I was Chicago, I wouldn't be re-signing Antoine Vermette because he's going to be asking for a lot of money. Once again, his cap hit this year was $3.75 million. Okay, which is a decent amount, but
I don't think he gets any more than that, and it's definitely not in Chicago.
He will if he goes to free agency.
Yes, maybe.
You know, someone's going to pay him a little bit more than that. But the Chicago Blackhawks also have Teravainen, who's a centerman, coming up, and I think that'd be a great replacement next year. Or even maybe Brad Richards on the third line and Teravainen makes the second line.
Now let's talk about a guy who made $5.6 million last year. He's 40 years old on July 1st. Didn't really do it in the 2015 Stanley Cup playoffs, Martin St. Louis. He says he wants to sign as a Ranger. He doesn't look at retiring, but I mean, after that poor 2015 playoff performance, do you think the Rangers are going to want to spend money and re-sign Martin St. Louis?
I think they'll definitely put in a good offer for him.
I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as much as what he makes now.
There's a lot of players that really didn't perform.
Well, especially after the playoffs he just had. I mean, he doesn't deserve $5.6 million.
No. Getting to his age now,
if he makes anything more than $3 million, he's being overpaid.
If he would have had a strong end to the playoffs, like if he would have been, even though he got eliminated, if he would have been doing fine point production wise, then I think you'd see a similar offer to what he was making this year. But yeah, once again, he's getting older. You know, he's not getting any younger come next year. So I think he won't be making as much, and I don't think he'll be on the Rangers.
Well, you talked about not being any more than 3. I think just because it's Martin St. Louis. Now I agree he's not going to get anywhere near to what he's getting this year. But do we think maybe 4, 3.5? I know Damon, you said under 3. What are your thoughts on that, Damon or Andrew? Sorry,
I say over 3. Actually, I want to come back to this for a second. I just said older players kind of slow down a bit, but that's one of the key things about St. Louis is that he's really, really fast. Like, he's a fast player for an old guy, too, but it's tough to say. If the Rangers aren't going to pay him over $3 million, guaranteed someone else will. They'll find a way to make room.
I think it depends on what they do with Rick Nash, too, because I can't see Rick Nash staying on that team. If he's gone, then St. Louis has to be an option because he's a leader on that team. So
if Nash leaves, this team is next year going to be. They're not a Stanley Cup team. Not
necessarily. Rick Nash doesn't do anything in the playoffs anyway.
Well,
so
but
with him, they're not a Stanley Cup team. If that's what you're saying,
he gets him there though.
He did this year.
He got him into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I mean, because they were the number 1 seed, they had a road that allowed them to get to the Stanley Cup final.
Okay, so if you take Rick Nash
Eastern
off,
Conference final.
You take Rick Nash off and you pump in somebody else in there to score 25 goals instead of 45. They're still a top 4 team in the conference.
With Hank in the back end,
yes,
and that decor, I have to agree.
I don't.
They've always had low scoring games, and that's the thing.
Yeah, like taking nothing away from Rick Nash's ability to score goals, I don't think he's as important a piece as everybody seems to think he is just because he's Rick Nash.
Well, let's talk about Henrik Lundqvist for a bit. He's getting older, obviously. Had his struggles in the playoffs. I mean, does that maybe put up a sign for you at all that he is getting, I don't know, maybe fatigue's on his factor, playing a lot of games? Do we see that? I mean, he's had some injuries. Is this sort of a warning sign?
I think this year, no, because he was injured during the regular season on a freak play. And so he was healthy going into the playoffs.
But he's getting older, so those injuries are going to happen more and more often.
It depends. He's not the type of goalie that doesn't he doesn't flop around, and he's not an overly athletic goaltender. His goaltending is based on butterfly and also based on his ability to be in a position. And that's the greatest thing about Henrik Lundqvist. He makes extremely hard saves look very easy.
Fair enough. Let's switch to number third guy rated on Sportsnet. Mike Green, $6.08 million last year. Had a couple of pretty bad seasons for the Washington Capitals. Rebounded pretty nicely last year. Had 38 points. Was a plus 15. I mean, Barry Trotz did an amazing job with the Capitals last year, although they did win in the playoffs. But $6.08 million is a lot to give a guy. Do we think Mike Green is at that level?
No, he
not anymore.
He won't even be close to making that much money.
He went from scoring 30 goals 4 or 5 years ago to
5.
To a lot of inconsistency. Even though, yes, 38 points in a lower scoring season is very good for D-man, but it's tough to say. It really depends what direction they want to head in. Do they want to keep Mike Green, even though he is one of the leaders on the team and he's been there for a while, or do they try and bring in someone who's maybe a safer player, maybe not as good as Mike Green, not as bad as a bottom 2 D-man, and build on their forwards a little bit more? It's tough to say.
Take into consideration that Braden Holtby has some free agency owed to him, which is going to be tough because of the money that he'll bring in.
It's not only Braden Holtby. It's Joel Ward. He plays a big part in the Washington Capitals. Jay
Marcus
Beagle,
Johansson.
Marcus Johansson, and Evgeny Kuznetsov. It just seems that Green is the odd man out there, and Green wants to make money. I mean, you don't go from $6.08 million. He's only going to be 29 years old. He's going to want to go to a team. Although he says he wants to win a cup in Washington, he's not going to get paid anywhere near that. Do you think he will take a pretty big pay cut to stay in Washington?
Yeah, because they're not going to offer him $6 million. $6 million, was that not an arbitration, really?
I'm not even too sure, actually. I have no idea what the arbitration
Scotty, what do
was.
you think?
I think Mike Green, the fact that he's making $6 million is all right compared to Dion Phaneuf. It's the only thing I've been thinking about this whole time.
Here we go.
If he's making $6 million, he's still doing better than Phaneuf in Toronto. So
Okay, let's switch
Good
to
point. Good point. Wow. How long were you thinking of that one?
Let's switch to SportsCenter's top-rated free agent. That's going to be Devin Dubnyk. $800,000 he only made last year. Now, he is due for a big pay hike. I mean, $800,000. I think he went 21-2 in his first 23 games with the Minnesota Wild in their absolute tear win. At one point, they weren't even in the playoffs. His goals against average was 2.08, 6 shutouts, and a save percentage of .929. There's no doubt his money will go up. How much money does Devin Dubnyk get? And does Minnesota for sure keep him? I mean, they have Darcy Kemper and Nicholas Backstrom. Backstrom, obviously, he's been declining, but he's still getting paid $3.5 million. Darcy Kemper only $1.25 million. What do they do with a guy like Devin Dubnyk?
That's a tough comment decision to make, just based on the fact that he is going to ask for a hefty raise, and I don't know if Minnesota is one of those types of teams that can pay out that type of money with the amount of money that they've already dished out to guys like
Pre-save Suter.
Yeah, exactly. Like going with that for your goalie, who, as great a half season as he had, is unproven.
Completely agree. Well, Darcy Kemper to $1.25 million, and he's still under contract with them.
And he's a good goalie.
And he is a good goalie. He's a good goalie. He was hurt. Dubnyk comes in, steals the show for the second half of the season.
And I'm not so sure that's just on Dubnyk as well, because like just before Dubnyk came in, they had a players only meeting, and like that team got together and decided we need to cut this garbage out. Like, we're losing games bad. We're not playing well. Our defensive system is a shambles. Dubnyk comes in. I think he may have been the guy, right time, like right guy at the right time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, Chicago has a pretty interesting offseason as well. I mean, they have a couple guys. They have Brad Richards, guys like Johnny Oduya. Those guys were very pivotal in their success. Johnny Oduya played when he wasn't injured over 24 minutes a game. So, I mean, that's really big. And guys like Brad Richards, you saw that great assist there to Patrick Kane in the clinching Game 6. Where do they go with these two guys? I mean, Oduya, in my mind, he will be back in the Blackhawks uniform. I don't think that's a question at all. But what do they do about Brad Richards?
Tough to say. It really depends on coming back to Antoine Vermette, if one of them's going to stay, one of them's going to go. That's my opinion with it. It really depends what kind of role play you're looking for.
And I think with Brad Richards too, he's accepted a lesser role on the team, which is
and
good for him.
He's been playing a lot better with them than he did in the Rangers jersey.
And let's not forget that guy still makes a ton of money from Tampa Bay, right? Like, he got bought out, so he's making money regardless. He doesn't need to sign a $5 million deal.
So if you're Brad Richards, take a pay cut in Chicago, stay with a team who could win the Stanley Cup next year?
Richards is already on a pay cut, so sign something similar to what he's making, and yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. So the Winnipeg Jets, let's finish off with them. We talked about those players. What's the biggest move the Winnipeg Jets have to do this offseason?
Goaltending?
Yes. Goaltending.
Really?
Who are they going to get, though?
I don't know. They got to get somebody better than Andre Pavlik.
I don't know. I say.
Well, on that note, let's talk about the goaltenders. Jonas Enroth from the Stars. He's a pretty decent goalie. Kari Ramo from the Flames. He was unbelievable for the Flames in the early part of the season. Michael Neuwirth for the Islanders and Victor Fast for the Oilers. I don't think Victor Fast would do good under the Winnipeg Jets, but there's 3 good goalies there. But I mean, realistically, I don't think the Winnipeg Jets are going to get anything else than what they have right now.
Probably not, but if they want to advance anywhere past the first round or even have a sniff at winning a game in the first round, like, remember, this franchise has not won a single game in the playoffs and 2 playoff appearances. So if that's got to happen, they've got to have better and more consistent goaltending than what Andre Pavlik provides.
The thing is, I don't think the Winnipeg Jets are going to go after a goalie in the offseason. That being because
they're going to build.
They're building, and it's working really well. And with the goalies that they have coming up, World Junior Champion Eric Comrie, got Hollebuck, who is one of the best AHL goalies in the league.
One of the best college goalies ever.
One of the best college goalies ever. And they've definitely been proving themselves coming up from junior and in the minors. So.
And Hutchinson wasn't horrible.
And Hutchinson wasn't horrible.
For whatever reason.
Not at all. And he's such a young
apart.
goalie. He played great at the beginning of the year, and I still think he earned that spot in, on the Jets next year, whether it be number 1 or number 2 goalie. Pavlik, maybe see him gone at the deadline. It's tough to say.
Depends how he does.
It's all about his performance this year. This is going to be. It seems like we talk about this every single year, but it really depends on how he plays this year.
Make or break for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we know Connor McDavid is going number 1, Jack Eichel number 2. After a quick break, we're going to talk about it. You're listening to the First Row Sports Show on CABC3, the future of broadcasting.
We all have mothers, so